Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969, and now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up? It is Tuesday night. I hope you all made it through the weekend and that your week is off to a great start. You are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. Make sure you go to their page and subscribe, and don't forget to smash that like button on YouTube there. As always, we're sponsored by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? The symposium is sneaking up on us. It's getting close. And I want to remind folks, there's just a few seats left for that field investigator training. It's going to be an all-day event on that Thursday. So I hope that you can join us for that. Anybody could do the field investigator training. If you're at all remotely interested in becoming a field investigator, this is a really good way to just kind of get a taste for what it is we do, how we go about doing it. You meet great people, and it's a lot of fun. Also, if you can't join us in person here in Denver, make sure to get the live stream. You get that free Travis Walton DVD, and it's $79 for the live stream. You can watch it at your leisure, and you get MUFON TV for a full year included with that price. So it's actually a really, really good deal. I am your host, Katie Grabowski. I am Colorado MUFON State Director, as well as the MUFON Administrator, Mars Team Administrator. Oh, I already said that twice. Anyway, tonight's guest is somebody I've actually wanted to meet for a very, very long time because he's local here in Colorado, and he has been investigating both UFO and paranormal activity for more than 35 years and is really a specialist in these cattle mutilations. So I can't wait to talk with Chuck Zukowski tonight. First, I'd like to introduce my co-host. As always, we have the beautiful Katie Cook. Welcome, Katie.
Hi. I'm trying to be beautiful to keep up with you, sweetie.
Oh, whatever. And we have Christopher, State Director of New York, and also ERT member. Hey, handsome Chris. Oh, clown Chris. That's funny. And
I don't want Katie
Jenna.
to feel all. I don't want Katie to feel all alone. She has a little stuffed up nose, so I thought,
Oh, that's sweet.
I wanted you to feel at home. Actually, I just wanted to promote Red Nose Day for children of poverty and to ensure a healthy future for them. I actually donated to them. If you could please donate, because no child should go hungry in the world nowadays, especially with everything. We're giving away money to everybody else. Why not give it to the poverty children? So, Red Nose Day. And also, Katie, get better. It feels like a pain in the ass to have this thing on, so I know what your nose feels like.
You're so sweet. Thank
Can I
you.
take this thing off now? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
you can. You can. No, you have to wear it for the entire podcast.
Jerry's going to go chasing it like a dog, jumping off the chair.
You know, I got to tell you something. Look at Jerry. Jerry, we got to show a story about saving the planet. This is a guy who traveled millions of light years to get here, and he can't spell planet. For God's sakes. What a dumbass that guy is. Holy crap.
Well, he made it to your house, so he made it that far.
Yeah, well, he was sitting on the curb. What was I going to do?
Funny.
I can't let an orphan like Jerry go.
Oh,
my goodness.
Jerry.
Hey, Katie, what do you have to kick us off tonight?
Well, let's start with our meme of the week. Get a little giggles going on here. So this is from one of my favorite illustrators in the world, Gary Larson, the Far Side. He's the absolute best. For those of you just listening, the UFO has landed. A couple aliens popped out. They look an awful lot like fire hydrants, and there's a little doggy nearby. And apparently the one fire hydrant alien said to the other, "Take me to your leader," I said. And then the most hideous thing happened. Poor little guys. Get them, doggies. Get them, doggies.
Get them, doggies.
Get them, doggies. All right, let's talk about our pop of the week. I'm so excited about this one. It's a fresh spin on a classic. So the Bigfoot chocolate greeting card. I've shown you these before, but this one, check it out. If I turn it sideways, it's like a PB&J.
Oh,
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Wendy Robinson is so creative. She made that purple chocolate to look like jam, and then there's salted caramel with peanuts, and this is all sandwiched between white chocolate, and it just smells divine. Yum, 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 yum. You can order these at paranormalpops.com.
And finally, right around the campfire. Around the campfire. They look like s'mores. Sorry.
So ready to eat it right now. I mean, that's the most torturous thing about doing these pops is because it's sitting right here, like for the whole show, and it smells so sweet. And like in between, I just want to like, in our commercial break, I devour half of it. And finally, on a serious note, if you have a loved one that has passed and their dream was to go into space, well, now you can make their dream come true. Check this out. Amanda?
This is the launch conductor in Mission Control. We pause at this moment in our countdown to remember and honor the lives of each of the participants on the Celestis Memorial Space Flight. Their presence on this flight signifies a commitment to the opening of the space frontier shared by all of us. We wish the friends and families present today and all those who are with us in spirit all over the world Godspeed, good luck, and our thanks for allowing us to share this very personal time with you today. Elsie out. 5 vehicles armed. 3, 2, 1, fire. Mission away.
Isn't that a neat idea?
That's neat.
I think that's so cool. You know, I couldn't help but think of our precious Angelia Shear because I didn't know about this before Angelia passed, but I think she would have been really into this.
Do they have to be passed away? I can get a ticket for my wife.
Thinking that would cost a little bit more. Just thinking. Okay. Yeah. Don't get any crazy ideas, Chris. Anyway.
I'm going to convict you for murder up there.
You're not right. You are not right. Anyway, you can order this if you're interested in this. Check out heavenlystarfireworks.com and you can get more information about how to send a loved one into space after they have passed, Chris. After they have passed. Ah, my. Anyway, Chris, what you got? News of the week, buddy.
I got something for you. Remember a couple of shows ago, you talked about Sasquatchy bomb. Or a Sasquatch soap, or some.
You mean like a bath bomb?
Well, you were rubbing your body with Sasquatch or something like that. Anyways, I found out the best thing for the Sasquatch. They come in all different flavors and smells and everything. Did you know that?
Wait, Sasquatch does?
Amanda, roll that video.
Welcome to Black Hole Soap. Will you smell like you sucked everything up? And of course, deep sea goat's milk. How does goat milk come from the deep sea? Oh, it's thought it came from the back end of a goat. And then there's pine tar. You would smell like a Major League Baseball bat. And last but not least is eucalyptus Greek yogurt. I used to smell that in the Greek diner at 2 o'clock in the morning.
So you too can smell like a Major League Baseball bat or the back end of a goat if you want to with Sasquatch soap.
Good to know. All right, good to know. That'll go on my Christmas list for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. All right. Are we ready for the news?
We are ready for the news.
All right, here we go. Ready? Okay. Scientists in China have detected alien signals using a giant sky-eye telescope. Scientists in China have announced that they have detected what may be signals from an alien civilization using the world's largest radio telescope. Science and Technology Daily, the official newspaper of China's Ministry of Science and Technology, reported Tuesday that the team of scientists from Beijing Normal University, what's a normal university, and it identified 2 groups of suspicious signals in 2020 and a third this year. Professor Zengi Tongaliga, I know I'm butchering that name, but anyways, there he is on the screen, said the signals weren't necessarily proof of extraterrestrial life. Well, if it wasn't proof, why'd you open your mouth? Zengi, who is the chief scientist for the China ET Civilization Research Group, who once dubbed China a top alien hunter, according to USA Today. The possibility that the suspicious signal is some kind of radio interference and is also very high. It needs to be further confirmed and ruled out. This may be a long process, Zingy said. Tuesday's report said the group of researchers used Sky Eye, a 1,640-foot aperture spherical radio telescope in Gitsu province. I don't know where Gitsu is, but I ain't going. All right, to detect several cases of possible technological traces of extraterrestrial civilizations from outside. Can you imagine if you're an alien landing in Titsu? Hey, boys, we're in Titsu. What the hell is Titsu? Anyways, Zingy said the telescope found multiple unique narrow-band electromagnetic signals. The telescope, known as FAST, scans the sky for certain signals that can be produced artificially. The sensitive equipment is able to pick up the narrow-band radio signals from other background noises in deep space. The telescope has been trained on exoplanets, which are planets outside Earth's solar system, Zingy said. His team used a FAST to explore the signals further to try to determine their origin. Amanda, why don't you roll that video with Zingy and his crew? Alrighty there, folks. So that is the Zingy and his crew telescope. Cookie, what do you think of Zingy and his crew?
Well, so Normal University, we know you didn't go there. That's for sure. I want to see that telescope in person. They said it was built into a natural, like crevice in the ground. It reminds me of those like in-ground trampolines.
I don't think you'll be going to China, Katie.
Yeah, maybe not anytime soon.
In the Gishu province?
Actually, I think that might be close to how you pronounce it. I find it interesting that we spend all this time and money looking for signals, but these same scientists don't want to listen to the millions of people that have had contact. But it's like, let's spend all this money just looking for some faint signal. But it sounds like it's doing a lot of other things besides just listening for
they're trying to find
signal,
pulsars and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it said they'd already found quite a few, right? Like 100 or something.
102.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, my butt's cool. Katie, what do you think? Instead of your yoga position, answer the question.
Okay, don't take this the wrong way. I'm a little biased, but I don't want the Chinese to be the first to make contact with. I want the United States to make contact. Secondly, there seemed to be a little UFO inside the dish. Anybody see that?
It looked like almost like a Cheerio.
Yeah, it was like a Cheerio inside of there. And I just have a question. What kind of music do you think aliens would like the best? I'm thinking electric techno music. Maybe. I don't know why I think that, because I love that image. So that's awesome.
Oh. Okay. He was doing rap, but hey, listen,
rap.
We can do that. Anyways, let's get on to the second story.
Let's go to the second story.
Right,
move on.
I have
Moving
to get ready
on.
for these.
The props are coming out.
No, this is Jerry's favorite story tonight. All right. Why scientists think we could find extraterrestrial intelligence by searching for pollutants. Why would you want to go to a polluted planet? They're as dumb as us. The long-anticipated James Webb Telescope is situated 1 million miles from Earth, preparing its mirrors and instrumentation for this summer when observations will kick off. Scientists say that the uniquely powerful space telescope will have an unparalleled ability to observe distant solar systems and their exoplanets, probing their atmosphere for likely signs of life, such as water, oxygen, or methane. Now, scientists are considering the proposition that James Webb could be tuned in to observe something like pollution in an alien civilization sky. Indeed, given that certain pollutant molecules have no natural origins, the notion that using the telescope to search for such techno signatures, as they call it, as opposed to biosignatures, is intriguing. I think it's quite dumb. But hey, astrobiologist James Haag of La Misera, believes James Webb could probe an alien industry. The belief that is James Webb could explore the possibility of finding industrial pollutants in the atmosphere of exoplanets, specifically chlorofluorocarbons, refrigerant compounds which were banned after they ravaged the Earth's protective ozone layer. Atmospheric pollution is one unique hallmark of industry that does not occur from other forms of biology on Earth. So, finding such pollution in an exoplanet atmosphere would be compelling evidence that the planet has technology. So, we're going to be looking for pollutants to find out if there's life out there. Good Lord. CFCs or something different. CFCs are a particularly compelling technosignature because they are known to be technological. They are potent greenhouse gases. They have come a long atmospheric lifetime. Whatever. If we saw pollutants in the atmosphere of an exoplanet such as CFCs, this would be compelling evidence for extraterrestrial life. Misera did say that there are some reservations about what kind of intelligent life would be potentially polluting their planet. Folks, I got to agree with this guy. If you're out there polluting your planet, why do we want to discover you? Mm-hmm. Cookie, what do you think? Oh, let's play that video first.
Okay.
The sign of intelligence is that it produces a signal or a structure that nature at random could not produce. If another civilization had more time, let's say billions of years, to develop its science and technology, the sky's the limit. Artificially produced molecules like CFCs could potentially last for 50,000 years, and they are very resilient. environmental impact of a civilization can in principle outlast the civilization itself, where we might find evidence for graveyards of pre-existing civilizations that either created conditions on their planet that are not habitable beyond a certain time, or they decided to move on to another place, another location.
Yeah, they came here.
No, I don't like it.
What do you think, Cook?
Well, I don't know. This again, it's like we always want to anthropomorphize aliens. Like, well, they're going to do everything that we do, and that's how we'll find them. And I really want to believe that they wouldn't be stupid enough to create all this pollution that could outlive them. But we do it, so I guess it's possible. But I don't want it to be true.
Well, why would we want to find them if they're doing the same thing we're doing?
Yeah, because we don't want to find anyone that's actually like us, right?
We might have some good new ideas. Who knows? I like the idea of the garbage truck with wings, like clean up all that space junk we have floating around. Yes, yeah. That is a great idea. Let's invent that. Let's get SpaceX to do that little space
I'll call
trash
Elon
truck
Musk
flying in the air.
Yeah. See if I can. All right.
You got Elon's number.
Once again,
I do.
That's the news for the week.
Very, very good job. Yes. Let's clean up the universe, please. Well, KDP, do we have a case of the week?
We do. In honor of our guest, Chuck Zukowski, tonight, I thought I scoured the MUFON database to come up with a cattle mutilation case, because we do get those, and I found one. So, and actually, Chuck was CC'd on it, so he kind of had his expert opinions on this one. But it is a Category 3 case. It is case number 49159. It occurred July 19th, 2013. So, yes, it's a little older. 9:30 in the morning from Blairstown, Missouri. 4 witnesses. Cow mutilation, 3rd case on the same property with a possible UFO landing with trace evidence, which I just thought was awesome. Yeah. So it says an impression was found approximately 30 feet from the site of the first mutilated cow. This was an oblong, smooth, and rounded impression, which was too large to be a boot or animal track. The photo was taken with a cell phone next to it, for size reference. So, Amanda, there's a picture of that square, burn thing in the grass. Yeah. In the back, at the top of the picture, in the upper left-hand corner, is that cell phone laying there. You can barely see the edge of it, because I had to look kind of hard to find that. But that's the cell phone laying there. You just see the edge of it there. So that's pretty unusual. So here's what the case said. It said, no UFO was seen by the witnesses, however, but there's possible landing mark. And since UFOs have been seen in connection with animal mutilation cases in the past, it may be useful to have this on record. This is the 3rd known mutilation on the same ranch. They set up camera traps on the site and submitted samples for lab analysis. The rancher called me at 10 a.m. this morning to report that she had another dead cow that she just found on her property. She called the sheriff and a veterinarian, and they were already on their way to the site. The vet just left the scene, and he examined the cow. The cow was found with a cut in the front of the body between the front 2 legs and the heart outside the body. All of the teats had been cut off of the udder, the tongue was cut out, and 1 eye was missing. The eye may have been missing due to vultures or maggots, which were already on the cow. The vet said that there was no blood on the ground, the cuts were precise, and that the heart and chest cavity had little blood in them, which was very unusual and unexplainable. The vet also said that he knew animals did not cause the wounds. He looked for bullet holes or other injuries to the cow, but could find none. And he does not know the cause of death. The cow was 7 years old and valued at approximately $2,000. It says, note, the witness says that as of today, July 24th, no coyotes have eaten on the carcass, which is very unusual, and that is not normal behavior. So, viewer discretion is advised. These photos are a little graphic and nasty, but there was a few photos attached with this case. So, Amanda, if we want to show those photos here. So that was photo 1 there. And then as we go in, we get closer up. There we go. That's kind of, I guess, maybe where the heart area is. Yeah, I think, in investigating the Elbert County Ranch, that burn mark's really interesting, how it's like oblong square like that. What do you guys think about this?
Chris, go first.
I think these guys don't know what the good part of the cow is. Jesus, look at all this stuff they're taking. No, I mean, obviously, cattle mutilation is a very unique thing, and it really has to be studied to see patterns. And I think that's one of the things we're going to have to do is see why they take certain parts, where they take the cows, what time of the year do we see the most mutilations, and we have to start putting patterns together, like like a crime scene. And we have to understand that this is something serious, because let's say, they start saying, hey, we're just going to start taking this stuff and go to town with it. We can be in serious trouble with this. We don't know what their intentions are for doing this. That's serious.
I've always thought they must be growing all kinds of specimens, I mean, we do that so much in labs already. I don't know why they wouldn't be doing that too, whether or not that's for food or just growing more cows to live somewhere else. I do wonder if we're going to figure out, I doubt we'll be around to see it, but if we won't figure out at some point that there is a planet B, and they've been working on it for a very long time. Right. And there's a lot of things from here that are being taken. But one of our viewers made the comment that the burn mark did look a little bit like the outline of the cow, which I agreed. If that were a craft, it's always so weird to me how small some of these craft can be when you see the marks that they leave. And so many people that have been abducted and gone on craft will say, well, I saw it in my yard and it was tiny, and I thought nobody could fit in that. And then I was inside the craft and it was huge. There's like this weird Willy Wonka. Yeah. It's like Willy Wonka. You go through a little doorway and then it's huge, or Alice in Wonderland too. Yeah. It's really weird. That just made me think of that, because that spot didn't look very big at all. I saw where the cell phone was, and it's like, it's about the size of a body of a cow. I just can't wait to talk.
I think some of these mutilations are naturally occurring phenomenon. I think military has some involvement with some of this, so I can't wait to kind of get into that here later on in the show. But so that's case of the week, mutilation case, and MUFON does get them from time to time. A lot of ranchers don't even report it anymore, though, because they know nothing happens. They don't want the stigma. They don't get reimbursed. I don't know if they can write it off on their taxes or not. I'm not sure, but a lot of these ranchers just don't even want to mess with it or have the stigma or people talking about it or whatever. It's been happening for so many decades now,
I never thought about that, whether or not you can write it off. It's kind of like the dog ate my homework. It's like, the aliens took my $1,000 cow, Right. I know. I just feel sad for the animals, though. I just hope somehow, if it really are these aliens coming down and doing this, that they somehow just numb the animal up and that they don't know what's happening. Because I can't stand the thought. Because it happens to horses too. I mean, it just drives me crazy. Well, let's see. We got Bob this week. Bob.
Yeah, you have Bob.
We got Bob. Bob, he's on vacation, but he did send us a video. Oh, Amanda, you got that video?
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing. I am MUFON's Director of Investigations on the international side, and each week Chris DePerno allows me to show you a video, a photo, or a drawing of interest that comes into the CMS from a witness. And this week we'll be looking at a nighttime video from Perth, Australia. This was actually submitted this month, but the video is actually from November of 2021. At first, I wasn't sure what I was looking at, but I'm pretty sure that I can figure it out at this point. So we'll let it roll. I'm going to talk over it while it's playing because it's a little long and we can save some time that way. Let it roll. At first, I thought the witness was filming an object over a volcano or a mountaintop, similar to what we see a lot of times in Mexico with earth lights. But when I listened to the narrative, when I read the narrative, it was about going over the gable of the house that they were living in. It sort of has an orange tint to it. It's out of focus for most of the video. It is in a remote area. But what I've come to the conclusion is that it is a Chinese lantern. It was early in the evening. It was brighter at the bottom, which is usually where the fuel source is, the flame inside the paper balloon. So what we're looking at here is most likely just a Chinese lantern. So again, another IFO. A lot of times when we look at whether something's a true orb or a Chinese lantern, we look at time of day. Most Chinese lanterns are launched in the early evening like this was. We look to see if it's a weekend. We look to see if it has the bright light source at the bottom. We see if it's flowing in the direction with the wind. If the wind is over 4 miles an hour, it might not be a lantern because of the experiments I've done, 3 miles or more per hour winds will shred a Chinese lantern. So my initial guess is that it is a Chinese lantern, but these are our parameters that the field investigator who will be investigating needs to look into further. So right now, tentatively, I'd say it's an IFO, identified flying object, but we'll let the field investigator figure it out. This is Bob Spearing. I'd like to thank Chris for having me on again, as he does each week, and hopefully I'll see you again next week. Thank you.
I think we should lobby to outlaw Chinese lanterns. I'm sick of them. Sick of them.
We want the goods. We want the real UFOs.
Oh, well, they happen. And thank you, Bob, for educating.
Thank you, Bob.
Definitely educated me a lot on.
Yes.
I thought I was pretty good at spotting them, but he's taught me a lot.
He does a great job with that.
All right. Is it time to bring in Chuck?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. I am too. All right. So Chuck Zukowski has been researching and investigating the UFO and paranormal phenomenon for over 35 years. As a field investigator, he's appeared on numerous radio and television shows discussing his investigations, including his own show, Alien Highway, which aired on the Travel Channel. His website, ufonut.com, displays various types of information on the UFO paranormal field, which also includes personal blogs about his research and investigations. Everybody, let's please welcome Chuck Zukowski. Thanks for being here, Chuck. How are you doing tonight?
Yay!
All right, Chuck, you're the man.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I was just kind of like setting up some of my my windows on my computer of some of the things I want to talk about, and right before you had me come on, my computer screen kind of went out, and now it came back, so I can see you guys. I can hear your voices. Yeah,
it's happening.
It's interesting, how you just got finished talking about Chinese lanterns. And the only thing that I would say that you have to consider, too, is the time of year that they're launched. Now, out here in Colorado, and you know this, Katie, that we have a fire ban. And if you happen to launch a Chinese lantern during a certain time here in Colorado, and they know where it came from, that's going to be some bad news for you, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've had some cases where it kind of looks like Chinese lanterns, but basically when you're shooting something with a cell phone, and I know that from a technology point of view, that I've been on a lot of cell phone technology projects, from microprocessors to the actual optics to right now. I'm working on LiDAR systems for Luminar, that it's really hard to tell with a cell phone because the software in a cell phone will manipulate the object, because they're not made to take pictures of UFOs. They're made to take pictures of landscapes and people and things like that. So it's very, very software manipulated stuff. And it's really hard for us investigators to get a cell phone image and try and actually figure out what it is. And the best thing to do is, like he said, was, okay, we got to take an investigator's got to go out there and interview the person and see if there's any other issues. If you guys want to go to my website, ufonut.com sometime, my latest blog is a little video clip that I put together from a previous, very recent Carnival cruise. When I go on cruises, I always take a night vision camera with me, and then, my standard P1000, has a 3000 optical lens, to shoot stuff during the daytime. I always make sure I get a balcony because I go out late at night between 1:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I shoot random 30-second clips searching for things. And this video that I just posted on the blog basically shows a compilation of some of the things that I caught, starting from this is what an airplane is, this is what satellites are, this is what a shooting star is, this is I don't know. And one of those images was the image that we just saw. And I'm at the middle of the sea in the Bahamas, and I shot an image similar to the one we just saw, cruising over the ocean at very, very high altitude that wasn't blinking, that didn't resemble a satellite. So,
I don't think that's a Chinese lantern, I could tell you that.
And that's a case. And really, there's also gender, for when they're releasing the gender of a baby, they have different colors of Chinese lanterns too, depending on the light.
That's true.
And I know that's been an issue.
Pink or blue.
Too. Yeah. But
Chuck, you've been at this for quite some time now. What got you started in all this?
It's in the blood. You know that from Debbie.
Yeah, it was true. That's right. Well, I did. Yeah, you were born with it.
It's in our blood. As growing up, I grew up in a small town, Safford, Arizona, and not too far from Safford, where Morenci and some other places too, they had very high, not only paranormal like ghost activity, but UFO activity too. And my mom came from Morenci, and as a small kid, I was probably about 6 or 7. The window in my bedroom overlooked the Grand County mountains, and I saw a light bouncing around on top of the mountain one night. And I kind of remember vaguely that people were talking about UFOs the next day. But the area that I grew up in, there was a lot of UFO activity, a lot of ghost activity, and a lot of black magic stuff going on too. The very rural areas. I later found out, my mom had always talked about having dreams of floating, floating through a house and then floating through a window. And then the more that I talked to her about it, it was like, okay, I was like floating through the wall. And it wasn't until later on, as I got older and I was researching, investigating this stuff, that I sat down and interviewed my mom, and, we had a really good chat about it. And she remembers as a little girl in Morenci, Arizona, that, there were 6 kids in her family, and she was the youngest. So they put her out in the hallway on like a small bed because there was no room, for her in any other bedrooms. And she remembers a couple times at night that she would wake up and she'd see little humans running around, and she would cover her eyes up. And that's my mom, right? Yeah. And then I interviewed her sister, my aunt, and she had a sighting too, traveling from inside of California, going, to Arizona to visit relatives. At the time, she lived in California. And back in the day, before like rest areas, and I remember this as a very young, that when we traveled on these 2-lane highways, you were tired, you would find a dirt road like a ranch road, and you'd pull off the side of the ranch road and go in the ranch road a bit, and turn off all your lights and sleep for a couple hours or so. And you would do that so no one would see where you are. It was pretty safe. And she was talking about that was the time that her and my Uncle Roy was driving. He pulls off the side of the road about half a mile down inside of a dirt road, and they're all sleeping. And for whatever reason, she kind of woke up and looked out the window, and there was a gray looking at her. Oh, wow. And there was a couple behind her, and she was just petrified. That's kind of funny inside joke because her name was Petra. But
was there just one, Chuck?
Well, there was a couple. There was one looking right at her through the window, like something you would see from a scary movie, where you wake up and look, and there's a face right there, looking right at her, and she could see no. There's other ones in the back, And she was so afraid, she didn't know what to do. My 3 cousins were sleeping in the back seat. My Uncle Roy was in the driver's seat sleeping. And the next thing she remembers is waking up while they were driving on the way to Arizona. So, it's just one of those things. And that happens to people who have experiences like this, that, you're actually seeing something, and then the next moment it's a few hours later, but in her case she could remember everything, and even into her late adulthood she remembered it verbatim.
Wow.
And it was really, really cool. So anyway, the bottom line is we've kind of had this in our family.
Yeah, it runs in families for sure.
Since my mom was a little girl. So wow. And that's probably why Debbie, out of 6 kids in our family, it's kind of weird that my mom came from a family with 3 boys and 3 girls. And then when she had her own family, they had 3 boys and 3 girls. And out of the 6, kids, I started to be an investigator first. And then Debbie became an investigator unbeknownst, knowing that I was doing it.
Oh, wow.
And then now my 2 other sisters, they kind of joined in on MUFON, and they're working with MUFON. Linda, who's there all the time, and then Diane comes up every now and then. So, we have a UFO type family going on.
Family affair.
Your discussions around the Thanksgiving table are definitely more interesting than most. It is really cool that you guys can all share that. And of course, as we know, so often, these experiences are generational. So, don't say anything that you're not comfortable saying. But of course, I naturally wonder, what you and your siblings might have experienced as well, like in terms of contact.
Well, with me, when I'm by myself, and I have experienced a few things. But when I'm with Debbie, she's very intuitive. And it seems like the women in our family are the ones that, that are intuitive. I'm very analytical. So I look at everything analytically and try to debunk it first. And even when other investigators say they this is what they think that it is, like the Chinese lantern, I'm the first one that says, let's hold off. Let's not say it's identified just yet, just based on cell phone footage, because we really don't know, because cell phone footage is really bad. You really need some optics, like camera optics, to really allow a lot of the light to come in. But with Debbie, she's very intuitive. And when we do investigations together, we'll be out in the middle of nowhere, doing an investigation. And she'll look at me. She goes, we got to go right now. And I don't even question her. She's my older sister. And we just pack and go. She senses something. And she's really good about that. That's what makes her a really good investigator. And obviously a good, for the board of directors on MUFON. But I haven't heard anything from my 2 brothers. With me, it's always been a fascination as long as I could remember, maybe I did have a sighting when I was a kid. But I do remember when I moved from California to Colorado, I was going through some old books from elementary school that I had a bunch that involved UFOs and Bigfoot and all kinds of cool stuff. So, I was really into it as, in elementary also.
Yeah, it's just a variety of things. Listen, I got to ask you this, because you picked one of the most difficult specialties to get into, which is cattle mutilation. It has some of the most abundant of evidence, forensic evidence, if you know how to collect and know how to do it, as you do. But also it's the most bizarre, because there's so much to it where, some sheriffs who investigated say, hey, it's cults, or satanic cults that are doing this. Other people saying that, no, it can't be. But there's so much compelling evidence. How did you, before we get into the evidence and stuff, but I want the listeners to know, why did you pick cattle mutilations? Because, that's really a tough field in the ufology field.
It is. It really is, because you put yourself out there. You're investigating. A lot of times I investigate these by myself. I started off originally with a team from MUFON. I was a STAR team investigator, and the Duran mutilation case was going to be the very first STAR team investigation. So we, at the very end, it didn't turn out to be our buddy who was funding the STAR team or investigation of the STAR team, the whole STAR team premise. It decided at the last minute after I'd already done it that wasn't going to qualify because there wasn't actual evidence of a UFO landing there. But the bottom line is you're investigating something that you have no idea how the animal died. Now, if the animal died of natural causes, that's one thing. But if the animal died of a virus, and we're all mammals, and it can jump species, and I've actually worked on a case in Colorado here where there was a virus out there that jumped species, that we were really concerned about being out there investigating it because of the fact that it could affect you. That particular case, I ran on my own, but originally the very first case, I had Alejandro was on my team and a couple of other people that were involved in MUFON at the time were on my team. But mostly I've been running it by myself. But it goes back to California where I was researching animal mutilations. We didn't have any in California, but I was researching them anyway because there was a lot of UFO activity associated with the mutilations, and that's what I was into. I was into crash retrievals. I was very heavy into Roswell, and I knew Glenn Dennis and Walter Hott personally, and I'm really fortunate that I did. But it's one of those things where, why I got into Bigfoot investigations too was because there were UFO sightings associated with Bigfoot sightings. So
right. That's controversial too, I know. So you're putting yourself out there. I don't want to date you or anything, but were you in Colorado in the late 70s? Were you aware of Linda Moulton Howe and her work out here, or when did you come out here?
I came out here in 2009, and I just jumped basically just jumped right into animal mutilations. The first year I was out here, I heard about it. I just jumped right into it. I mean, I already had all the gear, and I was really, because I don't think Linda Moulton Howe, she's more or less an investigative journalist. She's not a field investigator. So there's a lot of things that I do that she doesn't. But that's because she's I'm not knocking her. Okay, I am. She's plagiarized a couple of my investigations for her own website. But, at first I was kind of mad, but then I kind of felt privileged that, hey, look, Linda Moulton Howe was plagiarizing my stuff. That's kind of cool. That must mean I must be doing something good. But I mean, I was the first one that kind of was using EMF meters along animal mutilations. I've done it before with, with UFO investigations, picking up high EMF from the animal, from the surrounding areas.
If you had to put a percentage on the amount of cattle mutilations that have a UFO sighting or landing associated with it, what would you estimate a percentage would be that have that connection?
Well, I mean, all I can say is, my own personal ones, and I would probably say about 40%.
Oh, wow. Okay, that high. Okay.
Yeah, it is that high. Now, we were talking, you guys were talking a little bit earlier about animal mutilations, and George Knapp came out a few years ago and estimated there were 10,000 cases since, Snippy the horse in 1967 that occurred across the United States that we know of. And then out of the 10,000 cases, well, not that we know of, but that we estimate, but out of the 10,000 cases that we knew of that law enforcement investigated, they have never once found a culprit. No one has ever been caught, tried, and convicted of doing an animal mutilation.
Right.
Now, there's a difference between animal mutilation and animal cruelty. And this is where, you have to really know what you're looking at. And what I do, every case that I've always do, it's always the best thing you do is you talk to, you're looking at the dead animal, but you really need to talk to the rancher because he knows about ranching. And every one of my ranchers have always been second and third generation ranchers.
Yeah.
When the rancher doesn't know how the animal died, that's what makes it really intriguing because, I've talked to ranchers, one particular rancher in case where his wife was even afraid to go out at night because of what happened, because what they saw, not only did they see a craft, or he saw a craft, an animal was mutilated, and then later on their son saw strange lights, like headlights, beams coming up over the mountains. And there's just so much. I can go on and on for longer probably than this in there of all the stuff that I've learned. But I've also was the first one to actually use not just infrared, but to shoot infrared and IR at the same time. So you're using a different type of camera, but you're shooting it at daytime. So I'm looking for infrared and an ultraviolet evidence during the daytime by using a full spectrum camera and then putting a lens on it that blocks out all the white light. So as an investigator, you're looking for something that maybe you can't see. Now, I was a volunteer deputy for 8 years, and what I learned from law enforcement is every crime that's committed, evidence is always left, and especially homicides. There's always evidence there. Now, we have books and books and books about how to find evidence on homicides, humans, but we have very little evidence on how to find, or a little bit literature, I should say, on how to find evidence when it pertains to UFOs or abductions or anything. So, we make this stuff up as we go, and of course, MUFON has got the investigative workbooks for people who want to learn about it, and the MUFON symposiums. They have investigative workshops. I actually worked one, and then I'm the one that wrote the investigative manual for animal mutilations for MUFON a couple years back. But it's all based on what you know at the time. But I've been really lucky that every investigation I do, I learn something more, something else. So it's a constant learning curve that drives me to do other cases and to learn more. And eventually, I'm going to figure it out, or one of us is going to figure it out that's been doing this. That whole 37th parallel, the book, the 37th parallel that came out, I think it was 2016, was based on my 37th degree latitude theory of finding, this evidence of this occurring things across the United States. Like there's this, underground facility, underground highway, something, like like aliens or UFOs may be using a turnpike. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But
we definitely want to get more into that, because I actually really do want you to expand upon that. We're coming up on our break, about 5 minutes away, so hopefully we can get more into that on the other side. I've got a question for you though. So you're talking about, using this different kind of lighting. What are you hoping to find around this cattle? Like, is it going to be like, does it fluoresce? Like, what exactly are you looking for with that?
Well, I mean, originally you would listen to the O'Briens and the Howells and stuff, and they say, well, there's fluorescence that's been found on the hide. Micrometeorites have been found on the hide, and of course, I'm an investigator. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for that. Every one of the cases I've ever done, never found any evidence of fluorescence. I've scanned cow hide with magnets looking for micrometeorites. Never found anything other than stuff that was already normal in the soil. But what I learned as a deputy, that every crime committed, evidence is left. Now we have to find the evidence that was left there by whoever committed this crime, and it's an animal cruelty crime. Is what it is. So you try different experiments to try and figure out how you can find what the evidence is. Now, using a full spectrum camera allows me to look at IR and UV during the daytime, which normally you would look at night, by putting, a filter on it. And I'm looking for anything that's out of place. Anything that looks like it's not supposed to be there is your first target, because we really have no idea. So you're looking at the cow, you're looking at the surrounding area of the cow, you're looking at, local, tree branches, bushes, beside anything that looks like. One particular case, there were broken branches on by this bush, and the animal was laying almost underneath it, and the broken branches were kind of like, broken down. That you could see with your eyes, but you really have to look. That told me that the animal came down from some type of altitude to where it was resting, and we could talk about that after your break.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a case here too from a witness I'd like to get into after the break as well. But you make a great point. I mean, even since the late 70s that I've been researching out in Elbert County, I mean, we had ranchers and farmers offering, $1,000, $10,000 rewards. People are actively in planes looking for these things. Nobody's finding anything. What just really quick, we only have a couple minutes before we go to our break, but is it true that a lot of these coyotes and other animals won't approach these cattle that have been mutilated and that there are no track marks left around them? Are you finding that?
That's not really true, because I have found that, the scavengers will get to it after a period of time.
Okay.
But I found evidence. Matter of fact, I rolled up on one in I forget, Taurus Mountain, which is the lower part of Colorado going into New Mexico. And as I rolled into it, a bear had just left the carcass.
Oh, crap.
But I got to tell you real quick, and we'll go into this.
You carry a weapon with you.
Always. So what's interesting, and I'll talk about this after the break too, is some of the cases that I've found the animal actually lies in, I don't want to say crop circle, but it's a round depression. Okay. And I've noticed that. I really noticed that the first time by shooting, full spectrum camera, because it really showed up. And when you shoot white light, you may miss it, but when you shoot infrared or UV during the daytime, that it really kind of stands out. That's how that's something that using that full spectrum camera I was able to find. Right. Now, what the bear did though is the bear had the carcass was inside of the circle. The bear had dragged the carcass out of the circle before it started eating the carcass.
Oh, now that's interesting.
So that's when now
you take readings in there. I mean, is it high EMF or radioactive or anything like that?
Sure. Sure, we'll talk about that after the break.
Very interesting.
I also wanted to ask you too, maybe you can think about this during break, is the type of craft that are often seen around these mutilations. If there's a specific, are they triangle, spheres, orbs? Because I often hear of orange orbs or just light. So think about that. We're going to take a quick break, and maybe you can answer that right when we get back. And so hang in there. We'll see you after the break.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires, but sound the alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Always wakes us up, that and the coffee.
That's right.
All right. So back
All
to the question, types of craft, really quick.
Okay, first off, I got to say right now, orbs and balls of light are two different things.
Okay.
So what you need to do is orbs are more associated with spiritual. And so you'll hear a lot of ghost investigators on TV going, oh, there's an orb. I caught an orb on a balls of light are mechanical. And that's kind of hard. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, look at
that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm working on that right now. That is an active investigation here in Colorado.
Ooh.
And that's not as large as you think it is. It's about that large.
Oh, wow. There's your small craft, Katie.
So those are your balls of light. Now,
balls of light.
I've been doing this for such a long time that I've actually seen pictures that people have captured of these balls of light or probes. If it makes a little more sense if you think of it as a probe, and they're very mechanical looking, and they change shape. But do they really change shape, or is it just like refraction or reflection that makes it look like it changes shape? With the optics that we use. This is something I'm learning, that I have learned, working with optics in the microchip industry, because I know that when you're looking at a cell phone, you're looking at a camera that is what, a 1/4 inch lens in diameter. That's why the newer phones, they may have 2 or 3 of those little lenses, and then they triangulate them, put them all together to make a larger image. But nothing really beats a big lens. And this is a big lens. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say that's a big lens.
And this is a lens. This is for serious investigators that like a 3,000 millimeter optical zoom.
Whoa.
I can actually take pictures of, I'm over here in Colorado Springs, and I can take a picture of the shed of the building on top of Pikes Peak. I can see it through this.
Wow. How much does one of those set you back?
They're about $1,000. It's P1000.
Okay.
About P1000. It's a Nikon. Anyway, P1000 if anybody's interested in it. And then my night vision camera of choice is a Psionics Pro 4, which is the latest Psionics camera, and that's what I shot some of the images on the last cruise with. But the thing is these balls of light and craft have been seeing at least 40% of the time out of the investigations that I've investigated with animal mutilations. Now, balls of light more readily, more often, I should say. The Duran case, Mike Duran saw craft. Later on, his son saw lights, and then later on, balls of light were seen in that area. The Miller case, it's been balls of light the whole time. Not only Miller, but also some of the people on his ranch had seen him too. Hunters that would go on his ranch and hunt during elk season actually were scared out of one of his fields because of balls of light. Now, I'm sorry?
I was going to say, can the balls of light actually be doing the mutilations themselves?
That's kind of interesting. It's hard to say. I have a picture. I can't show it to you because it's of a minor, but it's really cool. And it's a brother taking a picture of his other older brother that's standing in front of a ball of light about this big. Now, here's the kicker, and this is something that I've learned over the years of investigating this, of what's a true UFO or true craft. Maybe not true, maybe true alien compared to maybe manipulated or not by humans, but they don't reflect light. That's what's really cool. And I've talked about this in some of my lectures, but I have evidence proving, especially this one case with this ball of light in front of this boy. I mean, it's literally right here in front of his chest. You can see the ball of light. It doesn't reflect any light on his chest at all, on his shirt or anything. Now, I've seen that in the past with other evidence, picture evidence. But it was kind of interesting that when I interviewed a police officer from the Illinois incident back in 2000 that was looking at a triangular craft over a mini mart, basically. And I'm, at the time I was a cop and I was talking to him. I said, well, you're in a patrol car. And he goes, yeah. I said, so this thing was really bright? And he goes, yeah. And I go, you could stare right into, the 3 bright lights. He goes, yeah. And I go, you didn't squint? He goes, no. But it was really bright, huh? Brighter than like this. He goes, as bright as the sun. But you didn't squint? He goes, no. Well, how about shadows? Did it cast any shadows? Well, I really didn't notice that. I go, that's a good answer. But you're standing by your patrol car. Every one of your reflective strips should have lit up like a Christmas tree. And that's when it hit him. He said, oh, shit.
Yeah.
No, the car was dark. It shouldn't have been. All the 911 and all the, the different things on his car should have lit up. And that, the more you do that, the more you realize that the real phenomenon that we're looking at, and this is one of those things that I've learned over the years, that our optics, our eyes see a light, but is it really white light? It could be something else within the spectrum that we're not really that familiar with because we don't use it, in our modern day technology. Something you learn from microchip design, when you mess around with different things in optics, there's a certain level, of optics that, that we look at because that's what we see. And that's what we're going to, design the microchips, for. But, outside of that realm, it's kind of hard to say. So what you do experiments like using, full spectrum cameras and doing some other things like that. But yes, solid craft, balls of light. The triangular stuff, no, I've never really seen that. I've seen that in other cases here in Colorado, but it's never been reported near an animal mutilation or around the time there was an animal mutilation.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, you brought up a couple of interesting things about law enforcement. You're interviewing cops, and cops are now coming out more and more reporting sightings and stuff, but they kind of push back on this cattle mutilation. They're not quite there yet. We've talked before where some police officers are really trying to push the theory that these are satanic cults and stuff. How much pushback have you gotten from law enforcement, and how much cooperation have you got when you go to a cattle mutilation case? I mean, you get a chance to, give them your experience on what an actual mutilation is.
It depends upon the law enforcement agency, depends on who it is, who's in charge. I've dealt with law enforcement agencies in other states, in other counties, and they're very open to work with me. Matter of fact, Trinidad area, I went out on a mutilation with a law enforcement and we were both investigating 8 animal mutilations. Actually, that happened in Walsenburg, so I actually was twice. One was in Trinidad. I had law enforcement with me. Matter of fact, it was the sheriff in Trinidad I interviewed him for a TV show I was on years ago, where he actually he was sitting and saw a triangular craft go over his head, and then a ball of light, a couple of them afterwards. Really interesting guy, really cool guy, but that's a general area where there were mutes.
But Chuck, after this disclosure from the Pentagon and everything else, do you think law enforcement is now going to be more receptive to say, hey, wait a minute, this is part of the UFO phenomenon, this cattle mutilations, and accept it more?
It would be nice if my effing department was, because, I don't know if some of the people who know me know that I was fired from my sheriff's department that I worked for because we had 2 horse mutilations in Rush, Colorado. I said that they were more based like animal cruelty, and anything that cannot be categorized that a predator killed the animal, I categorize as animal cruelty. Now, animal cruelty can be done by a human. That's by definition, or by an alien, right? But the bottom line is, it's not predator. The sheriff's department at the time, I don't know why they were doing it. I don't know if the PR person, just didn't look at the case report, or they were trying to cover up and they didn't want any part of it. But she came out and said that a predator killed it. I came out publicly and said it was, that it was more animal cruelty, that it was, was not a predator. The case report from the deputies that went out there to investigate it, they said it was animal cruelty. So she either lied or she never looked at the case report. Well, they played that against me because I was on Denver News, Fox News, saying that it was animal cruelty. The sheriff's department played that against me and fired me. But but that's okay, because even now, if you get on your computer and you type deputy fired UFO, I pop up sometimes. So I mean, I went international with that, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because all of a sudden I got people from Europe and Australia, New Zealand, Dominican Republic contacting me.
Don't feel bad, Chuck. They punch in, detective pain in the ass, and my name pops up. So,
but the thing is, there's never been any evidence of a human out of all the cases law enforcement has investigated. Now, El Paso County Sheriff's Department, they do have a couple deputies that they send out for extra training based for animal cruelty. And that's what the two guys went out to look at. So they actually had training, just a couple weeks of training, where they can tell the difference between if it was human caused or animal caused. And they're looking at these two horses, and they said there's no way in hell that an animal did this. First off, there's no tracks, there's no bite marks, there's no ripping of the flesh, there's a they have a whole list of stuff to go down to. So the only thing they say is it looked like some guy had a laser, but they can't come out and say, oh, by the way, it wasn't human or it wasn't a predator. So they always leave it as animal cruelty. It's a nice, safe zone.
Switching gears a little bit, we had a really interesting viewer question come in from Genghis Khan. Asks, if you were to come across a craft in the woods, would you approach it and interact with it, or stay away, observe from afar, and then report it to authorities?
Well, I didn't move. And this is one that you can talk to my sister Debbie about, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, who's obviously with MUFON. I'll never forget this. 2016, July 3rd, we were lecturing that weekend at Roswell. And like when my sister and I always do, we go out, when we're at Roswell together or someplace together, we'll pick a night, if it's a nice night, and we'll go out, looking at stars or certain areas. We'll take our night vision stuff. We'll practice with, the stuff that we have. And we drove about 60 miles outside of Roswell, where the famed Roswell Rock was found. That was another one of my investigations. And I think I'm facing east. So basically, this is exactly what happened. And you have to understand, I'm a microchip designer. I'm very analytical. And even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened. But the thing is, so we pull up to this, it's just a little dirt turnout on a 2-lane highway. And I pull my truck out of Ram 1500. I pull it and I park it. And I go, okay, well, let's just sit down on the tailgate. Well, as soon as I pulled the tailgate down, I saw a flash in a light in the sky. And this was a new moon night, which means there's no moon. And you can see perfectly, our galaxy, just Milky Way, just gorgeous out there. You can see everything out there. But if you live in Colorado, you know that sometimes shooting stars will come right at you. If they come right at you, all you see is a flash. Mm-hmm. You don't see a tail. Not often, but, rarely. But you have to know that as an investigator when you look around. And then, I'm an amateur astronomer. So, that's something that we had to learn, too.
That is so great. I never knew that before. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I thought they were aliens taking pictures with a flashbulb at me.
Well, I mean, if it's multiple times, then maybe. But
oh man,
just random stuff like that. So I saw that light, and that's what I thought. So then I walked over, and I'm on the right side of my Ram 1500, maybe 10 feet away. Debbie and I are standing side by side there, just talking. We're looking at the mountains, and off to the left was where the Roswell Rock was found. Off to the right was the Jim Ragsdale site, the whole 47 thing, and I think I know where the actual impact site is, which is on the other side of that. And I told my sister, I go, hey, check this out. I put these LED lights on the front of my truck, and I got a remote control. And I also had a remote control for my spotlight, but for these LEDs. And I said, if we get away, if we're doing an investigation, we get away from the truck, and it's really dark, we don't know where the truck is because it's obviously black. I love it.
Right.
Then I can hit the remote control, and the lights will strobe. And it's a strobe function. And I go, well, check it out. And so I hit the strobe and went flash, 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 flash. Immediately, about 40 degrees up to the left, I got 2 flashes back.
Oh, wow.
Right there.
Wow.
And you can confirm this with my sister. Actually, I wrote a blog on it. So I look at my sister, I go, what the hell just happened? Did that really happen? This is bullshit. This doesn't happen to us. There's got to be a plane up there or something. And she goes, flash your strobes again. Debbie.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. They hit it again. And, flash, 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 flash. And immediately afterwards, right there, same spot. Holy shit. Grab our night vision stuff. We're looking up there. Can't see a damn thing up there. All you see is stars. You don't see anything blocking stars, like people talk about, the predator effect. Nothing like that. You just see stars, right? And it's already been a couple minutes. And I said, I'm going to try it again. Because, we know it's not an airplane because this will be the third time I tried it, and it hasn't been in a sequence of a specific time frame that would mean it could be a strobe. Okay. So I did it again, and immediately afterwards, and I didn't know what to think. I'm like, this is stuff that investigators investigate. It doesn't happen with us. We're experiencing this for our first time, and we're looking at it right there. And it's right. And I don't know how far this thing is. Now, I do know from being a UFO investigator, investigating balls of light, that balls of light can be small. But when they give off light, they can give off light the size of a Volkswagen. Some people think they are sizes of Volkswagens. Other could be the size of a golf ball. It all depends on what our eyes perceive as the light coming out. And it's solid light. You can't see through it. So now I'm thinking, is this thing a lot closer than we think it is? Like maybe it's not a mile out. Maybe it's only a couple hundred yards out. So we're talking about it, and everything. I don't know how much time you have. This is a long story, but I'll cut it short.
No, this is great. Go.
Everyone, dead silence, just dead silence. And Debbie, she got those big brown eyes. She's like, I'm looking at her, and I'm going, I can't hear anything, and it's just everything just stopped dead. And all of a sudden, the animals in the background, coyotes, just cows, all at once, all this noise all at once was just being made, and we're okay. What the hell's going on? What's going on? Well, if anybody has a newer truck, and my last Ram truck had where you touch the handle, the door handle, get in, the cab lights would come on. It's just a capacitance thing with your hand, right? Well, and it's built into the handle. Well, I'm a good 10 feet away from the truck, and now my lights in my truck turn on the inside. And I'm like, what the hell?
Wow.
Now, there's one other thing here now, and Debbie and I still go back and forth over this. So this vehicle came by real slow in front of us. We were back off of the highway a little bit, not a quarter mile or anything. We're just talking about maybe 50 yards, okay? And this vehicle was real slow, came right by us, and it passed us. I said, what the hell was that truck doing? And Debbie goes, no, it was a car. No, it was a truck. No, it was a car. She goes, I know what it was. I was like, no, it was a truck. I saw the truck. And it went about a quarter mile, and it turned down another dirt road, and it parked. And I pulled out my night vision binoculars that I had already, that I was looking in the sky with, and I looked over, and the single figure, I couldn't tell if it's male or female, but it's just a shadow at that distance, got out, stood in front of the vehicle, and just stared at us.
That's weird.
And about that time, the animal stuff started dying down, and we're kind of like out there. And now we're looking at maybe 10, 30, 11 o'clock at night. Debbie looks at me. He looks at me with that, intuitive look, and she says, "We need to get the hell out of here right now."
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what we did. So the answer to your question, yeah, I because when you're with another investigator or you're by yourself, no, I would not run because that's my job. Matter of fact, years ago, the local newspaper, the Colorado Springs Gazette, stated that they said Chuck usually runs towards things more, most people run away from. Well, if you're an investigator, that's what you do. But you do it to a point where if you think your life is at stake, you may not want to. You may want to blow it out. There's a whole other case that's mentioned in the first chapter of the 37th parallel book, which that happened. And because I had an eyewitness with me, and I had a person, Joe Fix, with me also, it wasn't safe for them to be out there, especially the eyewitness, because she was flipping out. So I had to get my witness out of there for the safety of the witness. It's always the safety of the witness and the safety of your team comes first. If you're by yourself, it's a whole different story. You can stay out there if you want.
Yeah, no, you're responsible for your team. So you brought up the book 37th Parallel. Let's talk about that, the book, and what your whole theory is. What exactly is the 37th parallel, if you would?
Well, the 37, my theory was really a 37th degree latitude. And what it was, every one of my investigations that I've always done, and people look at me, and they even now they laugh, but I always take, a clipboard, piece of paper, I sketch out the crime scene, right? And then I sketch out a cow or something, the direction the cow was, it's facing north, south, east, west, the GPS coordinates, where, and I mark it, and it's better for quick reference. And rather than taking pictures, unless you can look at all the stuff. So one day I'm kind of looking at all this stuff of all my mutes. I noticed, hey, what the hell? All these mutes, they're all facing east to west. Most of them are in the 37th degree latitude. But, 30, a little bit in the 36, a little bit in the 38, but the general 37th is like the center highway, or the line of a center highway. But they're all facing in the same direction, east to west. And the majority of them were actually lying on one side, like a left side or whatever. But I'm thinking, okay, so what's going on here? Well, what happened when I was researching that, I called Debbie in Missouri. It must have been 1 o'clock in the morning, Missouri, on the weekend. I said, hey, that case that you're working on now, I said, you got the paperwork on that? She goes, yeah. And I go, which way is the animal lying? She goes, well, it's east to west. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. and I did a case in Kansas, I think we mentioned earlier, and I had Margie Kay go out there and take their samples for me. That animal was also following, the same direction. Then I started looking at other things too. I realized over the years of some of my investigations, I may have 1 or 2 investigations of mutes out here within about a week or so. And then there's always a third one, maybe a fourth one, but generally always a third one. But the third one is usually not in the same area. It could be somewhere else. I had 2 out here, and within 3 or 4 days, there was one in Missouri. And it was on the 37th parallel, or 37th degree latitude. And that's when it kind of hit me. Okay, so what the hell's going on? What else is out there? Taos, New Mexico, right? And then you have Area 51, and then you have, blah, 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 Dulce Base. And there's a bunch of things that are occurring on the 37th degree latitude. So I'm thinking, what's so cool about the 37th degree latitude? More research told me that we have underground water systems or aquifers, right? And the majority of aquifers across the United States can be hit on the 37th degree latitude. Then we have cave systems, and anyway, a lot of underground. Well, caves are, of course, underground, which would kind of throw that theory in on alien bases. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, my theory in alien base, possibly it used to be a cave, but it would be someplace where there's a water source. That's a whole other one of my theories is hydrogen. Is what UFOs use is hydrogen.
Hydrogen, the helium-4?
Well, basically hydrogen. They're very interested in water, and the majority of the craft, a lot of the balls of light that I've investigated are near water sources, either streams or even a pond or something like that. Alien Highway. We got some stuff over by Clearwater Lake. We got other stuff over by the Merrimack River. They like water sources. Now you go, okay, water sources. And so that falls upon the 37th. So that kicked off my whole theory. And then I started looking at other UFO sightings and then I've heard. And at the time, I just did season 1. I did a couple of episodes on season 1 of Unexplained Files for the Science Channel. And then season 2 was approved. And they called me up and said, hey, you did a cattle mutilation segment on season 1, and you talked about this 37th degree latitude theory. Do you have any data on it? And we're going, do I have data? And this is a Science Channel. This isn't sci-fi. This is science, or Travel Channel. This is Science Channel. And so I sent them just crap load of data on that. And they got back to me about a week later and says, we'll give you one full episode, 1 full hour episode. Do you want it to do your investigations on this? And went, well, shit, yeah, I do. You know, because before I was just getting segments. So they gave me 1 full hour. They let me pick where I wanted to go, who I wanted to talk to. I was going after Bob Lazar. I didn't get Bob Lazar, but I got John Lear. Anyway, next best thing. So, so anyway, that was pretty cool about it. So anyway, that aired. And this guy, Bo Flynn, with Flynn Pictures Productions in Hollywood, happens to be into UFOs, saw that episode on the Science Channel and goes, "This is effing awesome. I love this." And at the time, I was contracting in California at Qualcomm in San Diego. And I contract because if you're salary, you just can't pick up and go to do an investigation because you have a boss telling you you can't do it. But if you're a contractor or consultant, you just say, "See you later. I'll finish my work when I get back." That's why I've been contracting for 20 years. So I get this phone call from our email to call this guy, Bo Flynn. And he says, "Yeah, I saw that clip on Unexplained Files on your episode. So it's really fascinating." I said, "I'd like to do a movie on it." I went, "What the hell? You want to do a movie on it?" Now this guy, Bo Flynn, he does all of the rock movies. So he's been doing, so he's not some, anyway, he married Wendy Peppercorn, if you guys know who Wendy Peppercorn is.
From the Sandlot?
Yeah, he married her.
Oh, wow.
I know, I haven't been able to meet her yet. So he told me, he goes, "Yeah, I'd like to do a movie on this, but first we have to have a book written so we can write a script from the book for a movie." I'm like, "Is that how it works?" Is that like the cart before the horse? So he contacts Ben Mesrick in Boston, who's already written a couple of books that went to movies. One was about Facebook, and then one was about the MIT kids that broke Las Vegas. Those were both his books that went to movies. So he calls me and goes, "Hey, yeah, Bo, when Bo's commissioning me to write a book about the 37th parallel, or 37th degree latitude, about you, if and blah, 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 blah." And so I said, "Well, okay." I don't get any money from the book, and never did. But in the book it talks about animal mutilations. It talks about another case that I kind of briefly mentioned where I had to pull the witness out of there. And it talks about Roswell and what we found in Roswell, the metal artifact we found in Roswell, all kinds of stuff. And when it came out, it was a New York Times bestseller for 2 months. So,
that's incredible.
Heck yeah.
And then even before it went to book, New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers picked it up for a movie. Now, right before COVID hit, the script was written and approved by Warner Brothers or New Line Cinema. Warner Brothers owns New Line Cinema, and they approved the script. And then COVID kind of hit, so everything's kind of like,
Yeah, COVID messed everything up for the ufology field.
Yeah, I mean, it really messed me up too because my daughter Ashley and I, we've done a couple of investigations together right before, COVID. It was just after the Alien Highway thing, and we did strange animal death goats over here near Cripple Creek. A couple of them were still alive. They had puncture. I mean, we're talking like chupacabra stuff.
Like vampire stuff, right?
Oh my God! And then talking to the witness who's off the grid, and his neighbor's off the grid. They've actually saw shadow figures a few nights.
Also close to my new home. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. Where you're going to be is good luck.
Place.
Yeah, well, you better make sure you have your make sure you have a security system out there. That picture I showed earlier was out in a desolate area. And that was the security cameras that picked that up in one frame. That one little image, that metallic image was one frame. I do have 2 more frames where it goes, shoots out, so we know it's not a bug or anything.
Chuck, I got a question for you. You've been saying that you worked a lot with night vision. I've worked with night vision too. Did you see the congressional hearing?
I didn't see it. I listened to it because I work from home. I was just listening to it.
They questioned. It was believe it was the DOI for Naval Intelligence there, like Tom Bray, and Tom said, "Hey, we got this thing up here, and we didn't know what it was, and now we found out it was a drone, and it looks like a triangle, but that's because night vision distorted it to make it look like a triangle." Now, I've looked at that film. Well, first of all, just like you, I've worked a lot with night vision, and I've never had anything distort the figure, like that. So that's number one that I got very suspicious of. Number two, if you're on a naval battleship, one of the most sophisticated warships there is, and you can't tell me it takes you so many years to figure out what was flying over this battleship?
Yeah.
What's your take on both of those questions?
Well, I mean, we've known that our military pilots have been seeing this stuff for years, and I've actually talked to a couple of guys who are retired, and I've been at it for so long that unfortunately there's a lot of things I get that they tell me not to repeat. So I put it in my file. I mean, there's no physical files, basically, a couple, but I put it just for me. So when I do a case, I can kind of compare. One of them was the whole idea that they don't reflect light that came from, military. But the thing is we've been seeing them for years, and pilots were told not to talk about it, and if they did talk about it, it's only because they were ordered to talk about it, and then it was shelved, type of thing. I've been talking to airline pilots for years. Every time I go on an airline flight, I'll try and talk to a pilot, co-pilot. Hey, have you seen anything? They're more open now because of the Pentagon release and stuff. But before, they were afraid to talk about it because they're afraid that they could lose their job. Military, it goes way back to Roswell, where the military comes in and shuts everybody down and tells them they can't talk about it. Roswell, at the 75th anniversary of Roswell is coming up, and I'm gonna throw a blog out that I'm gonna poke some fun at Roswell themselves, because the blog is basically Roswell, the Great Cover-Up, because the incident really didn't happen in Roswell. It happened outside of Corona in Lincoln County, and everybody, all the team players, the initial team players were from Corona, and even though Roswell came out with the flying disc has been, and then within the same day, they the whole disclosure thing when it went into effect, Roswell basically became the place where it got shut down. The Roswell Army Air Force Base or Walker Base.
Yeah, but Chuck, in this disclosure, with your expertise in using night vision, are you buying this story?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't. I have a FLIR camera, and it's a lower grade because I can't afford the $6,000 ones. But we did use some FLIR stuff in Alien Highway, and I can see how with a FLIR, because it's a different type of a camera, the way it was designed for, it's not really designed for looking at stars and stuff. I have an 8-inch Smith Cassegrain telescope with a video link to that. That gives me better clarification of what's out there. And yes, you can definitely tell the difference between a triangle and not triangle with that thing. The Psionics Pro, from a long distance, you may not be able to tell if it's triangular or round just because it's too far off. The cameras aren't really designed to look a mile out or 2 miles, out in space. So I can see that might be the case, just for certain cases, but definitely not for our military. And the reason I know that is because some of the companies that I've worked for here in Colorado, we have military bases around us, and some of these companies have got military contracts for microchip design. One right now, optics, the LiDAR system. Others that I've worked on were optics for fighter jets. The others, I worked on a deep space probe for JPL and a spice satellite for the military back in Rockwell days, stuff like that. So I can tell you that the technology that we have in our fighter jets will tell you the difference, if it's round or triangular, because it's that good.
Yeah.
It's really that good. So when our fighter pilots, don't know what it is, the instruments can't detect it. The instruments, and that's the most phenomenal thing, is first you have a human looking at it and a human's trying to deduce, but then you have an instrument, looking at it, the different types. The jets do shoot infrared. They shoot FLIR. They shoot LiDAR. in a lot of cases, the newer jets do. They have optical systems, night vision, and then they have a computer system that's trying to figure out and piece together what they're trying to see, the distance, the size, the whole bit, all within milliseconds. And
Well, I can tell you this, Chuck, if a battleship, some kind of warship, can't tell if that's a drone or not, we're in sorry shape.
I know.
We are, yes. yeah. It's that would mean that North Korea is more technology, has higher technology than we do. And we know that's not the case, but that's exactly what it is. So I do know personally from in the microchip design, I know that we're probably, it used to be 10 years, maybe 15 years ahead, but not anymore. It's more like 4 or 5 years, just because our technology has been wrapping up so fast in just the regular civilian aspect. I mean, seriously, this is an older iPhone, right? But this technology, this iPhone, is so far more advanced than was in the space shuttle. And so, yes, there are some advancements out there, but microchip size, we're only, you get to the point where you're going to start knocking atoms around to get things. Of course, there are the things they're looking at, but technology-wise, we're not that far ahead, or that ahead where it's heading from us. Maybe only 4 or 5 years. I'm guessing now. Other people say, well, 20 years. I don't buy that.
I'm going to circle back around to the cattle because I have a couple more questions. And I don't want to run out of time before I get them, because these are just personal questions that I've heard through interviews from ranchers that I did. So one interview stated that and I wanted to see if you've heard something similar. The cattle where the mutilations are occurring seem to huddle together and are calm, where the cattle in adjoining pastures are like freaked out and, kind of all over the place. That's number one. And my second question is, what about, for a long time there, it was like, oh, there's nothing to this whole cattle mutilation phenomenon. It's just like the intestines exploding or something. There was some natural cause, they said, for these cattle mutilations. Whatever happened to that? And is that true?
Just a natural cause.
There was a big thing about it. Like, oh, it's been solved. It's all bogus because it's.
Yeah. Your first question, and there's been a couple of cases where I do know that the cattle have scattered, but there's also been more cases where they did not.
Where they're calm. Because he said, the rancher said, where the mutilations are happening, they all huddle together and they're calm. But the adjoining pastures where they're not occurring, they're all freaked out. So it's like something is making them calm and huddling together. Maybe the lights, maybe the balls of light are calming the cattle or something, or hurting them together.
I really don't know that. I mean, I can't say for sure. All I can say is from what I've experienced through my investigations, I've never really seen that, or have the ranchers told me. Because I've always asked them about the behavior of the cattle, and they never once said that they were acting peculiar or anything like that. Okay. I mean, it always seems, but you have to understand too that every one of my cases are free ranging animals. They're not, they're not in feedlots or in corrals or anything, and so they're scattered all over the place. That's why sometimes we can't get there within 24 hours, because it's the next day. The rancher's out there counting his free-ranging animals and finds out he's missing one and goes looks for it. But I had one case where the female cow was away from the herd, and she was mutilated, but she was pregnant, and 40, 50 yards or so away from her mutilation, the calf was there, alive.
Wow.
She had given birth to the cow. Then she, for whatever reason, left the cow, possibly running from what was looking at her, which might go into a little bit of a theory that you're saying, that, that they're scattered. And that could be like that one case where maybe that was the case where the animal left the calf. She was found mutilated by that bush I was talking about, and the branches were broken. And we went, and the ranch manager had found the calf. Calf was fine. and was doing well. So the cow had calved. The if anybody knows about calves, they immediately or cows they immediately start eating the placenta to rebuild that nourishment for their milk. So they can nurse the calf, and at that point, half the placenta had been eaten. Now the cow's gone. The milk sac was cored out, the tongue was cut off, and some internal organs were missing. Calf survived. So that throws that whole theory out there for the debunkers saying that they're predators. Well, why would a mountain lion or coyotes or whatever leave a newborn calf and chase after a 1,400 pound cow and just eat the milk sac and leave the calf alive? So there are cases. There are cases like that. And as for exploding, now that whole exploding thing is just a natural phenomenon. If you don't get to an animal fast enough after it dies to look at it, it builds up with gas. It's just the microbes inside there. As they're eating, the flesh inside, and that, and also decomposition of everything inside. It's outgassing. And if there's no cuts in the animal or any release for that gas, it's going to go blow, blow, blow. It's going to blow it up. I've actually had one so bloated that with one hand I was able to grab a 1,200 pound cow by its hoof and flip it over because it was like turning over a volleyball.
Wow.
It was like that. And I thought about that. I kid you not. I go, I don't know if I want to be here. If I tip that sucker over, it explodes. What am I going to look like? I was really cautious because that really took me off guard when I moved it, and it rolled right over, and I almost like darted out of the way because I was afraid she's going to blow. That is a natural phenomenon. It's just bloating, and if you're ever involved in law enforcement, you know that when law enforcement find people who have died in their houses or apartments, that they're all bloated. And that's just something that mammals do.
It's very sad. I know you brought some pictures to show us. I don't know if it's of that particular case, and obviously we want to warn people that any of these pictures, could be pretty graphic and not very pleasant. But do you want to guide Amanda on some of these case pictures that you have?
Oh, sure. I was just kind of reading some of the comments where it says livestock, when they huddle together, they can be struck by lightning as well as stuff. And that's true. That's one of the things we look at is are animals dead due to, atmospheric conditions, thunderstorms, lightning, and stuff like that. Another person has said he'd been on a destroyer for a few years and never saw any UFOs. And that's just because maybe he didn't spend most of his time looking up at night. But doesn't mean he did, that wasn't the case, that they're not out there. But a lot of people will tell me, well, I live out in the boondocks, out the sticks, and I've never seen one. Do you ever stargate?
Everybody does. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What about some of the cattle mutilation pictures that you brought for us, though?
I don't see any on the screens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was a clear case where the milk sac was taken with that one. And the anal area, that was really cool. Now, leave it right there for a second. Now, this is where EMF comes in. Now, I've been using EMF from day one. EMF meters on trying to figure out what's going on. Now, you see that gaping hole in the head. I picked that. I kid you not. So I run my EMF meter over that, and the meter is literally pegging.
Wow.
Now, it goes to 0 to 100 microteslas, and it's going boing, boing, boing. I'm like, what the hell is going on with this? It's the first time I've ever seen it. Usually, dead animals, I'm at 6 to 8 microteslas. Something's unusual when they're about 25 to 30. The Earth's magnetic field is 50 microteslas. This thing is twice the Earth's magnetic field. Bouncing all over the place. So what I did was, this was on a weekend. So the following Monday, I contacted Alpha Labs, who designed my particular EMF meter. It's a tri-field natural EMF meter. It's not a K2. That stuff's junk for ghost investigators. K2s, you can push them and the little lights will come on. You want something with a meter that you can physically see what's going on. So I talked to him. I said, okay, without being specific, just give me your thoughts. So I'm measuring high EMF from this animal. He goes, well, don't quote me on it, as I don't quote the engineer himself, but he says, don't quote me on this, but it obviously there is a residual EM field embedded within the muscle and the hide of that animal. So something with high energy, that animal experienced some type of high energy source, so high that it left a residual energy force within the muscle tissue, the hide, whatever was left. Over a period of time, maybe a week or two, it'll dissipate just because of our EM field, on our planet. Eventually it all will dissipate over a period of time, depending on how intense it was. So that's what I picked up on that animal. Now, some of the animals I found, especially when it started with the lenses that shooting IR during the daytime, full spectrum stuff, when I saw that around, anywhere from 16 to 22 feet in diameter. Not all animals, just certain ones where I could see them. I took soil samples from inside, and I took soil samples from outside that ring, a good way, far enough away so you would mix the two. And I had soil sample A and soil sample B, and I sent them to a place out here in Colorado, the soil analysis for the BLM, because I figured that sounds like a pretty good company. And I told them, compare A to B. I didn't tell them anything else, just A to B. And it wasn't until the second time I sent for another cow, guy contacted me like, what is this for? and I told him, and he goes, oh, no shit. And he says, okay, just want to make sure. And then he taught me proper ways of taking soil analysis to make sure you get the best analysis. But every one of my cases that I've done here in Colorado, including the one case in Missouri and a case in Georgia, 3 different states, 3 different types of soils, right? Missouri's got more clay. I don't know about Georgia, but out here it's more sandy. The cations or CECs are different, meaning the nutrients within the circle have been altered compared to outside. Now, what does that mean? That means that it's less soluble.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Now,
Chuck, I got a question for you. Chuck, have you ever had somebody do an autopsy on these cows? Have you ever talked to the person doing the autopsy? Because I would think that with the stuff that you have found, there should be some kind of autopsy done. Correct?
Yeah, it's a necropsy. And what I've done from the get-go is I went to Colorado State University Veterinary Lab, which is basically a veterinary lab for the 4 corner states. And I went and talked to the head person at the time. She's not there anymore. And I told her what I wanted to do. And so she instructed me on what I should do at first. Now, I know originally MUFON, in their investigative journals, they were mixing, I forgot it was vinegar or water, whatever it was. She says, oh, no, you have to use formaldehyde. You have to, because if you use anything other than formaldehyde for biological specimens, it could alter their specimens. So I had to go find formaldehyde, which was kind of hard to do. So now you can get it on the internet. So basically, she kind of taught me how to take proper biological samples at first. Where the wounds were, how to cut it, the whole bit. And I would take the samples to them, and they would do analysis on it. And one thing that really satisfied me, that really gave me some comfort, was there was no hemorrhaging on the open cut. So you have an open cut right here, and I would cut a triangle, And so that's my cut. This is the anomaly cut. The anomaly cut never had any type of hemorrhaging, meaning the animal wasn't bleeding out when it got cut, meaning the animal was already dead. Then they cut it out. Every one of my samples showed that exact same thing from all the different cows that I took samples there. So we know the animal was bled out first. And an average cow has 11 gallons. So the blood's missing, then it's cut, and then organs are taken or whatever. Then she told me that I have to get, if I want a necropsy, which is an autopsy for animals, if I want a necropsy done, I got to get an animal within 24 to 32 hours at the most. Okay. And that's really hard to do because sometimes it's not till 24 hours till the rancher finds it, and then they tell you, or you find out about it, and all of a sudden it's 2 days out, and there's too much involved now with that animal, especially if it's during summertime and it's hot, that the lab can't do anything with. So Rancher Miller, a good friend of mine, was having multiple mutilations, and he calls me. Oh, we got another one, Chuck. He's up to like 15 or 16 since he's been in Trinidad. And he goes, I got a calf. And I took the calf and I covered it, and it just happened. He called me in the morning. He just found it. Now, that means it happens sometime during nighttime because he counts every one of his cows that are pregnant. And he goes out and counts. And here all the animals are together. And he walks out and he sees one cow a little bit outside of the herd crying, just moo, moo, moo. And you know what's going on. And she was looking in a different direction. And but they weren't huddled. They were just kind of like doing whatever. And so as he walked up to her, she took off walking in front of him. And she led him to another pasture where the whole cows were the previous day. And that calf was laying there. So he grabbed it, called me in the morning. I'm working. I said, be right there.
Yeah.
So I zip right home from work, and I come by the house. I grab my stuff and put it in my truck. Now, I went from an Xterra. I used to have animal samples in an Xterra, which was like an SUV. My wife got tired of smelling biological stuff, that visual smell in our SUV, right? And she says, you need a truck. So that's when I made the transition to a truck. So I had a truck at the time then. And so I drive my truck out there, and sure, there's the calf, and the tongue had been cut out, and there was a hole. But it's not ripped. It's a nice round hole in the anal area. You got to be careful about that because coyotes, they like the soft tissue, so they'll go into that first. So you have to be careful. So I'm looking at that, but it's really, really smooth. And there was, and he had a picture of where the animal was with his camera. It showed no signs of blood, no signs of anything being pulled out, no signs the animal had moved, and the tongue was cut out. So I grabbed it. I drove from Trinidad. Now here's a person who lived in Colorado, knows how far this is. I drove from Trinidad past Colorado Springs to Fort Collins, where Colorado State University is. Yeah. Dropped off this animal. By the time I dropped off the animal, it was about 12:30 at night. Colorado University Veterinary Lab has 24-hour drop-off. So I dropped it off, fill out the paperwork, drop it off. And so I call the next day about 11 o'clock, and I was talking to one of the vets there. I go, so did you see the animal? He goes, yeah, it was really interesting. I said, so what did you find? And he says, well, okay, why is the tongue missing? Yeah. And I go, that's my question. What would eat the tongue? He goes, well, if they eat the tongue, it would be the part that's hanging out. But this is cut way, way back. And what's really interesting is the whole digestive tract is connected to the tongue all the way down to your stomach. They can pull all that out at once. I'll tell you about that in a second. So anyway, the tongue was missing. He opens it up. And I said, so what'd you find inside? He goes, well, most of the organs were missing. And he said, but the heart was there, and the heart was collapsed. Does the heart collapse normally? Well, not generally when they die. Usually it's filled with blood, but this was collapsed. And there was one lung left, but everything else was gone. He goes, it was as if they were taken out through the hole in the anal area. And I went, all right. So now I head back over to Colorado State University, and they invited me to sit in on a necropsy. They wanted a cow, but they got a horse. And so I got to sit in and actually watch them and participate in doing a necropsy on a full horse. And then they gave me the heart, which is about the size of a basketball or volleyball, really. And I did the necropsy. And when you cut into a heart, it's not collapsed when they died. And the blood, the left ventricle and the right ventricle, ventricle and left ventricle, it's like grape jelly, you know. because it's gelled, the blood's gelled, and the horse had just died the day before. So so I learned a lot about it. But the neat thing was they had no idea when they did necropsy on a calf how it died or why.
Yeah. Well, Chuck, we are just about out of time. This show flew by and we got like piles of questions lined up. So I hope you'll come back and visit us here in the next few months so we can get to all these questions. This has been fascinating and I've learned so much. What do you have on the horizon? Are you working on a book? Where can people see you? I know they can go to ufonut.com. What's going on with you? Are you going to be at the symposium this year? Where can
I'm going to be out of town. I'm actually going to be out of town on the symposium.
That's a bummer.
But I'm working cases now that COVID's kind of lifted a bit. I kind of backed off because I didn't want to, give COVID to anybody, or I never had it, but you can always be a carrier. I've got 2 really good cases. The one I showed you a picture of, and I have another one that you swear it's Starlink, but it's not Starlink. So far, I can't prove it's Starlink. And I've got a couple emails of people that are interested, for other projects and stuff, but, hasn't panned out just yet. But I think it's only because COVID is coming to the point now where it's starting to come down and people are starting to, production companies are starting to look at things and re-venture, and especially, since the Pentagon's released all that information. But anybody who has any questions, I know I've been kind of looking at the comments. If you have any questions, just go to my website, ufonut.com. The reason why it says UFO Nut is because when I started this 30-some years ago, people called me a nut. And I decided just to roll with it. My license plate says nut. My Harley says UFO biker. My trailer
getting less and
UFO
less
lab.
nutty because it's starting to get out there.
Yeah. So just email me, and I'll give you any type of information or answers to your questions that you didn't get so far.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being our guest. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Bill Skywatcher, our producer. And thank you to the amazing Amanda Kieran, our co-producer. And we will see you guys next Tuesday night. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Until next week. Good night.
Thank you.